Overview of cold weather in Europe and US. A cold period spread across Europe through mid of March 2021. More than 100 million people were under winter storm warnings. Europe in the grip of cold snap and sparked heavy snow shower. US cruises through winter with a snowdrop and above average temperature. This extreme cold weather happened because of the global warming or climate change and polar vortex. Here are some pictures of how cold weather happened in Europe and US.
Polar vortex is a low-pressure area that is present over the pole throughout the year. On Earth, the vortex becomes less stable during winter, sending polar air away from the poles. The polar vortex contains some of the coldest air on Earth. The air is often contained by a strong jet of west to east moving winds that act like a wall containing the cold air. Change in the Arctic stratosphere were causing polar vortex to become more regular, making higher temperature in the Arctic have led to historically low level of ice there, and that this, in turn, has caused change in the jet stream, forcing the polar vortex to buckle.
So, for the next point, I will discuss on how extreme weather affect the food commodity prices. As we know, extreme weather has been a big issue until now. This phenomenon has eventually increased the food commodity prices globally. According to the aid group Oxfam, they believe that the extreme weather are responsible to the world low yields that are eventually impoverish people to the future of high food prices. Other than that, the food commodity price rise up during extreme weather due to the food commodity itself. It is because some of the food commodities can't survive during the extreme weather. As a result, the import demand rising as most countries seek to build up their domestic stock of commodities. From this explanation, we can see the extreme weather really affected the food commodity prices globally.
Next, I want to discuss about how long will the extreme cold weather last. For your information, meteorologists expect the weather will happen a few months as the cold snap continues. During November until February, this extreme cold weather usually occurs in Europe and US. More than 50 million people are expected to sub-zero temperatures in the US, according to the National Weather Service. Avalanches from Arctic will linger over the Great Plains and Mississippi Valley, and ice storms is also expected in North Texas around Valentine's Day. Last but not least, extreme cold weather is very higher risk when in the dead condition in activation long time. Among the diseases that can be suffered by them are frostbite and hypothermia.
During the extreme cold weather, usually the temperature will be dropped until -20 degrees Celsius. So, most of the food production will be reduced due to the extreme cold weather. As supply is reduced and the demand is still the same, the cost of the food will be increased. So, there are several food that will be highly demanded during that time, such as meat, frozen food, dairy product, and other perishable items. Besides of that food, there are also food that are highly demanded because they want to increase their body temperature, such as bananas, coffee, oat, and hot chocolate.
Have you wondered how does COVID-19 give impact to the food commodity supply chain? What if happens parallel with extreme weather? Although COVID-19 is a health crisis, it also affected the entire food system. The COVID-19 and the extreme weather are interconnected directly or indirectly as agriculture production, transportation, and processing affect both human health and climatic conditions. Barring a few essential service, economic activities have been shut down. Travel is banned, the movement of goods and services restricted, and cross-border movement closed to contain virus initially. Labour, the main input in agriculture, has been quarantined. Borders closed, and national, regional, and global supply chain have got disrupted. While the physical distancing and lockdown are critical for saving people's lives, these measures have affected agriculture operations significantly, with millions of immigrant agriculture workers unable to participate.
Recently, a heat wave is an example of extreme weather that happened in US and Europe. Heat wave is a long period of excessively hot weather which may be accompanied by high humidity and occurs especially in oceanic climate countries. Extremely hot temperature caused by heat wave in some region in US and Europe can also lead to reaction changes, for example, melting of icebergs. Moreover, hurricane also most common extreme weather that happen in United States and Europe these days. According to an analysis of 1851 to 2015 data by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, September is the most common month for hurricanes making landfall in the US, followed by August and October.